The Washington Commanders just signed a future Hall of Famer in Von Miller, but whether this is a genius move or a desperate gamble will really be decided entirely by the numbers of zeros on the contract. That and more right now on Locked On Commanders.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Commanders. I'm David Harrison, your guy on the ground covering the Washington Commanders. And not only am I doing it 5 days a week right here for you on Locked On Commanders, but I'm also doing it for WUSA9.com and for Sports Illustrated's CommanderGameDay.com. I want to thank you for making Locked On Commanders your first listen or review today and every day. And everydayers, I want to give a special thank you for you for coming through every single day. If you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed for free on YouTube or wherever you are listening to today's episode. We're over the 14,500 subscriber mark, getting ever closer to that next milestone of 15,000 subscribers. I appreciate everybody who's already subscribed, and I appreciate everybody who is going to subscribe in the future, whether it's today or another day. If it's your first time coming through, welcome to the show. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully you come back again very, very soon. Coming up on today's episode, we're going to talk about the Locked On NFL Top 100 rankings. We're going to simulate the season. A little bit of fun here as we get closer to the end of the week. And the Washington Commanders just signed or agreed to sign Von Miller. So we're going to ask, is it a brilliant move or a massive risk? All of that is coming up on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. A quick bit of news before we dive into our top story today. On Thursday afternoon, the team got all of its draft picks under contract. Cornerback Trey Amos signed his rookie deal. Good to see the business side wrapped up as we get ready for training camp. All the rookies will be available. Was never really too concerned that it wasn't going to get done. It just became a situation to monitor, as at one point 30 of the 32 second-round picks had not signed their rookie deals. But as second-round picks started to sign their deals, started to get their guaranteed money in place, we kind of got the feeling, okay, Trey Amos's deal is probably going to get done here pretty soon. And sure enough, it got done Thursday afternoon. So on to the main event. The Washington Commanders just got a little bit older. Already the oldest team in the National Football League. Now they're just a little bit older, but in my opinion, they also got a little bit better. The Washington Commanders are signing Von Miller, pending physical, pending all that stuff, not finalized, not ink to paper just yet, but they are going to sign Von Miller. Source did confirm that. It forces us to immediately confront the two polar opposite realities of this deal. And from my text messages with insiders last night and into Thursday morning, I got a ton of feedback and a ton of questions and a ton of comments on both sides of this conversation with this deal. Are the Washington Commanders getting a Hall of Famer, or are they getting a 36-year-old liability? That is basically how this conversation boils down. So a legend, right? Truly a legend. I did a short video calling Von Miller elite. He is an elite NFL player. He's going to have a gold jacket. He's going to have a bust in Canton. But what are they getting today? Obviously, that is the crux of the question. The bombshell news: Von Miller, NFL's active sack leader with 129.5 career sacks to his name. Again, future Hall of Famer. It is reportedly a one-year deal with the Washington Commanders. The immediate hook and conflict to this whole thing is that the signing presents two completely different realities. One reality is you're getting a legend. You're getting a Super Bowl MVP, a proven winner. General manager Adam Peters knows him very, very well from both of their times with the Denver Broncos. The second reality, there is a risk. He's 36 years old, had an ACL tear in 2022, very significant knee injury just a couple years ago. He had 0 sacks in 2023 while battling to come back from that injury, and he had 6 sacks last year in 2024. So a little bit of a bounce back season for Von Miller, although he did play the fewest snaps of his career in 2024 for the Buffalo Bills. So the central question here, the billion-dollar question, quote unquote, if you want to put it that way, is which Von Miller did the Commanders just sign? So the risk versus the reward, the case to be made for the risk. Let's talk about that first, because we do need to acknowledge that there is risk. Because if you saw the short, you know I'm excited. I think, and I've already said in this episode, I think they just got better. So obviously, I think the net is going to be a positive, but there is risk here, right? 36, very high number for any NFL player, but especially an edge rusher. He is coming off that significant knee injury. He was in 2022, typically, and we talked about this before the other ACLs, especially with Sam Cosmi suffering his injury that he did in this calendar year last season. But a lot of NFL players will tell you that first year back from an ACL, you still don't really feel right. It's not until year 2 that you start to feel right. Well, year 2 for Von Miller starting to feel right, if that tracked, would have been last season, 2024. His 2023 stat line, no sacks, 12 games, didn't start a single game, right? That is hard to swallow. When you look back at the history and you say, who are we getting with Von Miller on this team? That's kind of where you are, right? Von Miller even admitted at one point probably shouldn't have played that season, but he wanted to come back. He wanted to be out there for the Bills. Fortunately, didn't suffer any major setbacks, so he was able to come back in 2024, again, have a little bit of a bounce back season. So why are we optimistic? So you got this silver bullet stat, right? What's the stat that's going to turn a doubter into a believer? Well, you can talk about high pressure rates. Von Miller has one of the highest pressure rates in the National Football League, even more recently. The Commanders are betting on another year of recovery, right? So again, he's now 2 full years removed. This is the 3rd year removed from that ACL injury, from that knee injury. So if you start to feel better in year 2, well, year 3, maybe you feel even better. And then the data suggests that the player that Washington is signing is a highly efficient pass rush specialist, not an every down player. That's the key. The key is going to be converting his disruption, his ability to pressure, and his limited usage into production, real production, similar to the way they do with Dante Fowler. Listen, Dante Fowler did not play a ton of snaps last year. Dante Fowler wasn't a starter, but he led the team in sacks. Why? Because they were able to maximize the snaps that he did take. The difference between Dante and Von is Von understands where he is in his career. Dante wanted to be a feature player, wanted the team, doing a bunch of press on him, wanted to be in the spotlight, wanted more credit, all this other stuff. But when you're kind of a marginal role player, you're never going to be that guy for a team. So what does this do for the Washington Commanders, right? What's the reason? You hear Dan Quinn always talk about the why. Get to the why of the person. Well, let's get to the why of this decision to bring in Von Miller, because we've heard the talks about trading for Trey Hendrickson, which the Bengals and Trey, I don't even know what's going on with them. TJ Watt potentially, although he agreed to a deal on Thursday with the Pittsburgh Steelers, so he's staying in Steeltown. Overall, just in a vacuum, Von Miller on this team makes this team better. So it's a plus. It's a plus in my book. Whether it's a good deal or not is all about the money. And again, I'm not going to tell Josh Harris how to spend his money, but we are going to evaluate it because that's my job. So if it's a smart bet, it's a low cost, incentive laden, prove it, right, kind of deal. Heavy bonuses for hitting milestones and playing time and all that stuff. If it's a gamble, then it's a contract with more guaranteed money, and you're paying for the name and the reputation a little bit before you're paying for the production. For this to be a truly great signing, then the financial details got to be that first scenario. And the critical piece of information we're waiting on is what that deal really looks like. So what does a good deal look like? What's a deal that should make you happy as a Commanders fan if you're concerned about it? 1 year, $1.5 to $2.5 million guaranteed, up to $5.5 million or so total. That means he's got about $3 million worth of incentives. So you've got a veteran player who is ring hunting, coming to Washington to do the ring hunting, and he's highly incentivized. So if that's the deal, or if that's ballpark range of the deal, you should be really happy about it. So another question I was asked, why did this deal get done but not Terry's? Well, just like Jeremy Reeves, this contract is simpler than Terry McLaurin's, and that's really kind of the basic way to go about putting it. So a player like Von Miller only signs here because of elite talent already on the roster, and with the new Locked On NFL Top 100 list proves the talent is getting better and is getting league-wide recognition. Although I've got one major issue with where one of the Commanders landed. That's coming up next on Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode of Locked On Commanders is brought to you by FanDuel. Folks, we just spent the first segment breaking down calculated risk, the big bet that the Commanders are taking on Von Miller. Well, potentially big bet. We don't have the details yet. So depending on that, could be a big bet, could be a smart bet. Well, you can make your own smart bet this summer with FanDuel. Baseball season is heating up. Major soccer tournaments are in full swing, and FanDuel is the best way to make every single moment more exciting. You're already locked in on every Commander's roster move, waiting for training camp to start. Why not add a little more thrill to your sports summer program, your summer sports program? With FanDuel, you can turn your sports knowledge into a real win while you're waiting for the real kickoffs to begin. I'm on the FanDuel app all the time, building same-game parlays on big baseball games to make a quiet Tuesday night feel a little bit more like the NFC Championship game. I don't know if baseball can ever get there, but it's a little closer, right? It's super easy to use, and they pay out really fast. It really makes you feel like you're a part of the action. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers, you can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open up the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. The Locked On NFL Top 100 has got some people in their feelings, but I'm about 75% calm, about 75% accepting of the outcome as it pertains to the Washington Commanders. So this is the first year the Locked On Podcast Network, Locked On NFL, we're doing this as a channel. All the Locked On NFL hosts had the opportunity to vote on our NFL Top 100. You know, the NFL does it, PFF does like their top 50. Everybody does it. We are doing it as well. The feeling of validation for what the Washington Commanders are doing really comes down to one name, because when your franchise quarterback lands 31st on this list after just one season of playing in the NFL, it just kind of shows you that there are fundamental changes happening about the way that this team, the team that I cover, the team that you cheer for, is being viewed. Jayden Daniels comes in at 31, making his Locked On NFL Top 100 Players debut. Not sure yet where he's going to come in on the NFL's Top 100 list, but I do expect him to make his debut on that side as well. And this isn't just about potential, right? This is a clear statement from across the Locked On Podcast Network that he is a top tier quarterback in this league. He's ranked ahead of guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown at 32, Dexter Lawrence at 33, and even the Eagles defense tackle Jalen Carter. Among quarterbacks, Daniels is ranked ahead of Justin Herbert at 39, Matt Stafford, who's number 40, and even Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts, who came in at number 46. But the network isn't giving him too much credit either. He's the top 5 ranked quarterback in this group, right? He's the 5th ranked quarterback. However, the other 4 guys, the first 4 quarterbacks ranked in this list, they're all top 5. Lamar Jackson came in at number 1, Patrick Mahomes at number 2, Josh Allen number 3, Joe Burrow's number 5. And then from number 5 to 31, you have no other quarterbacks. Burrow and Daniels are the only 2 in those top 5 who have not won NFL MVP awards yet. So it just kind of puts him in really, really high company, right? And this validates, honestly, everything that we saw from him in 2024, his Offensive Rookie of the Year campaign, his dual threat abilities, setting the rookie quarterback rushing record, and that undeniable clutch factor that came in so many key moments for the Commanders during the season. Having a quarterback like Jayden brings this kind of clout, explains why guys like Von Miller, when they're ring hunting, are doing it in the DMV. Of course, he wasn't the only person to make this list. Coming up in number 36, Laremy Tunsil. Laremy Tunsil got ranked in the 80s in the NFL Top 100. Well, here at the Locked On Podcast Network, we believe Laremy Tunsil is a top 40 player, 5-time Pro Bowl left tackle, still considered among the top offensive linemen in the league, absolutely vital to protecting the franchise quarterback, Jayden Daniels. His presence is going to hopefully ensure that Jayden has much better pass protection this year than he did last year. High ranking, obviously a lot of people on this network believe that it's going to work out. Clearly, it shows Adam Peters' commitment to building a dominant offensive line around their most important player. And like Daniels, Laremy is 5th among his position group among the offensive tackles, and he is 1 spot ahead of Trent Williams, who comes in at 41, 1 offensive tackle spot, I should say, ahead of Trent Williams, who came in on this list at number 41. So a little bit of former Washington star information. Linebacker Bobby Wagner and Terry McLaurin both on the list as well for the Washington Commanders, and they come in very, very close to each other, number 77 and number 78, respectively. Bobby right there and Terry McLaurin. And Bobby Wagner was dropped, I think, number 74 on the NFL Top 100. So that ranking very close. I can't imagine Terry McLaurin's not on the NFL Top 100. So Terry McLaurin is going to be ranked higher on the NFL Top 100 than he is on the Locked On NFL Top 100. Bobby Wagner is the 5th ranked linebacker. So that number 5, man, it just Jayden Daniels, a 5th ranked quarterback, Laremy Tunsil, 5th ranked tackle, Bobby Wagner, 5th ranked linebacker. The number, it's all coming up 5s here, folks. 3rd ranked off-ball linebacker in total. 34 years old, man. Bobby Wagner continues to defy the inevitable decline of players in their 30s. So we talked about a good amount this week, but now we're going to talk about the other side, the beating Father Time, or at least holding off Father Time, right? Eventually Father Time is going to win. This year is his 9th consecutive appearance on the NFL Top 100 and obviously first appearance on the Locked On NFL Top 100 because it's our first year doing it. But he leads all active defenders in snaps played. Just really a testament, man, to longevity and everything else. In his first year with the Commanders, led the team in tackles, ended up with second team All-Pro honors, 10th Pro Bowl selection, and he even got Defensive Player of the Year votes. So great season from Bobby Wagner. Beyond the on-field stats, instrumental in Washington adopting, creating this new culture and leading the team, coach on the field, all kinds of stuff. Definitely a key factor in the team winning 12 regular season games and making a run in the playoffs. Terry McLaurin, 11th ranked wide receiver. This is where we get a little bit boo-booed, okay? 11th ranked wide receiver, career best 2024 season, 13 touchdowns, career high, a little over 1,000 yards. Again, he didn't set career highs in every stat category, but I think overall, Terry's best season as a pro. Earned a trip to the Pro Bowl, second team All-Pro selection, consistency, right? Terry McLaurin is nothing but consistent. The chemistry with Jayden Daniels grew exponentially. It's only going to continue to grow once he gets back on the field, whenever that time comes. Now, McLaurin, like I said, is the only person I've got an issue with here on the rankings, because when you look at the wide receivers specifically, 1 through 6, okay, you got Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, even Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek Hill, that's where maybe we have a little bit of the debate, talking about who they are currently as receivers, right? I think Tyreek Hill is probably where I start to push back a little bit. But beyond there, Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, Travis Hunter, Mike Evans, they're all ranked ahead of Terry McLaurin. And look, Mike Evans is another player I'd be like, okay, like I'm not too mad about that. If you were to tell me Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, Tyreek Hill were 6, 7, and 8, even if Terry is 8 there, I'm all right with it. I think I have some points to argue with you to make him higher, but like that's acceptable. But having him, and this is no disrespect to Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, or even Travis Hunter, but like Travis Hunter hasn't played a snap in the NFL. Like how he lands on the top 100 list, all I can tell you guys is I didn't vote for him. That's all I can tell you. I can't speak for everybody else. But Nico Collins, good receiver. I was a fan of his coming out of the Senior Bowl, but he's not better than Terry McLaurin. Puka Nacua certainly has had moments. He's had flashes. I'll take Terry McLaurin over Puka Nacua any day. And that's, again, I'm not saying Puka shouldn't even be in top 100, but he should not be ahead of Terry McLaurin. Truthfully, having Travis Hunter on the list just isn't really a great thing. But interestingly enough, nobody in our group chat right now is owning up to it. So it's kind of like Justin Bieber. Like, you don't know anybody buying his music, but the dude's making money. So someone's buying it. They just don't want to out themselves, right? So again, it's a lot of fun. It's rankings. If you're talking 5 years down the road, the only one of these 4 Washington Commanders that made this list that is honestly, in my book, has even like above a 50% chance of being a true impact player, cornerstone player for the Commanders when the new stadium opens in DC is probably Jayden Daniels, right? Terry McLaurin could still be with the team. Trajectory says he's not going to be like a star cornerstone player by then. Laramie Tunsil is going to be 5 years older. Bobby Wagner, I expect, probably will be retired by then. So that's the Commanders' place on this list. But I wanted to get a little bit more deeper into it, and I want to have a little bit of fun with this as we get close to the end of the week. Real football is starting next week. Let's have a little bit of fun while we can, right? What does it mean for their place in the league? We're going to zoom out. We're going to look at this league-wide, and we're going to run a full season simulation based on these rankings to find out where our fellow hosts see the Washington Commanders. That's coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Recency bias can be a real thing. And in some ways, outside of Travis Hunter, I think these results are about last season more than they are this one, right? It's like that's kind of always the question is, are we talking about the NFL top 100 prediction for 2025? Or are we talking about top 100 entering 2025, which means actually it's coming out of 2024? The proof is right here when you look at the league-wide numbers, having 4 players in the top 100 list, a great mark of respect for what Washington is doing right now and their high-end talent. But it also places them firmly in the middle of the pack in the NFL, looking up at teams that also made deep playoff runs last year, but certainly got a little bit more credit for making those playoff runs last year. So again, 4 players in the top 100, but the Philadelphia Eagles had 7 to lead everybody. The Detroit Lions had 6. The Niners, the Chiefs, the Texans all have 5. The Texans are a little bit surprising. And the Ravens, think about this, the Texans don't trade Laramie Tunsil, then they have 6. The Ravens, Buccaneers, Chargers, Cowboys, Falcons, Giants, and Rams all have 4 along with the Washington Commanders. Nearly half the league has 4 or more. So 4 sounds like a good number, but really it's about, I don't say it's average, but it's right there in the median, in the middle of the pack, right? The Commanders are tied for the 4th most in the NFC. The NFC East has 19 players on the list, leading all NFL divisions, followed by the NFC West, the AFC West, the NFC North, NFC South, AFC North, AFC South, and AFC East coming in dead last. Wanted to have some fun with this. So I constructed what I call an adjusted valuation score. And instead of just going straight up 1 for 1, the number 100 ranked player on this list is not as valuable as the number 1 player, right? I think that's easily agreed to. So we adjusted the values where like the number 1 player gets a value of 100 points. The number 100 player gets a value of 1 point. Then we also weighed quarterbacks heavier because quarterbacks are obviously more important and more vital, more valuable to their team's success. And having one as a top 100 player is a pretty big advantage over the teams that do not have a quarterback as a top 100 player. Doing that, the NFC East stayed the top division, but the gap between the AFC East and the AFC North, which is the second best division, widened, right? So certainly had an impact. I also ran a season simulation using this information, created an algorithm that weighed these rankings. It took home field advantage into account, possessed a degradation system for teams that have late buys, integrates the fact that teams coming off buys actually show signs of rust a lot, and integrated about a 25 to 35% chance of upsets in NFL games, which is about the rate that upsets have been happening over the past few years. The Commanders ended up with 10 wins total. They visited the Cowboys in the wild card round and unfortunately lost that game. Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles went to the Super Bowl. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. Does that mean it's going to happen in 2025? No. Again, this is just for fun, a little bit of fun with numbers and rankings and just all that kind of stuff. But really kind of identifies who were the best players in 2024, in which case it accurately reflects at least the Super Bowl matchup and winner, right, from last year. So again, it's for entertainment purposes. Do not get too round up about it. But players who can land on the Locked On NFL Top 100 next year for the Commanders from this season: Jayden Daniels, clearly, Terry McLaurin, Laramie Tunsil, Bobby Wagner, assuming that they're all still playing and Bobby does not retire. The 4 guys who made it this year, obviously you can say they're probably going to make it next year or have a chance at least to make it next year. Frankie Louvu, I think another second-team All-Pro year or first-team All-Pro year gets him a lot more consideration. Deebo Samuel, if he can bounce back, certainly he can get some more consideration. Marshawn Lattimore, if he can bounce back, certainly could get some more consideration as well. Adding a veteran like Von Miller to the team with 4 players in the top 100 clearly sends a signal to the league at what people think Washington is doing right now. It shows that foundational stage of the rebuild is over and the team is continuing to shape things around the foundation that they now have, aggressively trying to accelerate that timeline and win with its young core and its rookie contract quarterback. That's going to do it for today's episode. Next time on Locked On Commanders, we're going to wrap up the week with some more fun topics. Who knows? Maybe we'll have another contract to talk about. In the meantime, if you've got questions or comments, you can text them directly to me by becoming a Locked On Commanders insider at joinsubtext.com/Locked On Commanders. Before you can judge the Von Miller signing, you have to understand the talent that he's joining. The brand new Locked On NFL Top 100, which dropped on Wednesday's episode of Locked On Sports Today, reveals exactly how the league views the core in Washington. Find out where Jayden Daniels ranks among the elites and why the ranking for Terry McLaurin has people talking. Watch now on YouTube, wherever you're listening to this podcast. For the everydayers, see you every day. I appreciate you every day, and I thank you today for coming through yet again. Until next time, stay safe, be kind to one another. We'll talk again real soon right here on Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.